E.T. here. Information for this video comes from books. One is Jess Willard, Heavyweight Champion of the World. It's by Arlie Allen and James Willard of Mace. Also, Sam Langford by Clay Moyle. And Jack Dempsey, The Manasseh Mauler by Randy Roberts. Buy these books new. Also, it comes from newspapers of the day and, well, other sources. This is Carl Morris. He was once famous as the fighter to topple heavyweight champion Jess Willard, and he was proclaimed to be the first of the great white hopes, although he was part Native American, and he was, without competition, the most disliked man in boxing. Morris came to the game late. It was when he was working as a railroad engineer in Oklahoma City. It was when he was pulling into the station that he heard that former champion James J. Jeffries just lost a fight with champion Jack Johnson. That put Morris into a rage. He climbs down from the engine, and he announces he's quitting his job, and he knocks out the first black man that he sees. That should tell you something about Carl Morris. And then he decides to become a pro boxer, and he builds himself as the great white hope. He's the first to do so. Morris was certainly large enough to be a heavyweight, 6 feet 4 inches, 315 pounds. He had an 81-inch reach. But aside from a few amateur fights while he was in the Army, Morris, at the age of 23, had no experience. After dropping his weight, it would be between 225, 240 pounds, Morris ran up some impressive wins, including a points victory, and that was in only his 5th fight over former champion Marvin Hart. Then he knocked out the very dangerous Mike Schreck, and then he had a KO over the big man Fred Fulton, who'd go on to beat the great Sam Langford. And by 1917, 4 men seemed likely, according to newspapers, to get the next fight with the champion, Jess Willard, Carl Morris, Fred Fulton, Bill Brennan, and then a relative unknown from out west named Dempsey. The ratings changed in November 1917. That's when Jack Dempsey steps into the San Francisco Dreamland Rink ring to face Carl Morris. Now, Dempsey knew, and he very much disliked Morris, for whom he once served as a sparring partner. Morris continually berated Dempsey for being a nothing, a derelict hobo. And Jack was also disgusted at Morris's continual fouling. But Morris's fouling in enormous strength did worry Dempsey, who knew that he, an upstart from the West, would never get a chance at Willard if he didn't shine tonight. But the tentative Westerner, for 1 round, did not shine, and that was noticed by an Oakland, California reporter. He wrote, "Dempsey seemed a victim of stage fright for 1 round. It took him a little time to become accustomed to Morris and his elephant tactics." A few minutes into the next round, with Jack circling the behemoth, the fight became all his, Jack's. The Tribune reported, and I'm quoting, "Dempsey stood away and poked in about everything that he wanted." But it's going to take more than a few Western newspapers to convince promoters in New York and anywhere east of the Mississippi River that Jack Dempsey was a legit contender. So Jack decides to meet Morris again, this time in Buffalo, New York, weeks later in March of 1918. The Spokane Chronicle wrote about it in detail. Morris, and I'm quoting, "Morris was disqualified after 6 rounds for hitting below the belt too many times, but Dempsey had punished Morris and had him groggy when the referee stepped between the 2 fighters." Still, just to make the point, and keep in mind Dempsey had already knocked out Bill Brennan and Fred Fulton between the fight that I'm going to talk about and the last one, he decides, and he knocked him out in 1 round. Dempsey decides again to take on Morris. Now, it could be this time it's for the money. He's being paid a hefty $4,000 Now, I looked it up. It's about $84,000 in 2024 money. The fight's taking place in New Orleans just a few weeks before Christmas, 1918. And Dempsey is at his ferocious best. Now, that's a condition that will continue when he destroys champion Jess Willard. According to the New Orleans Times-Picayune, Dempsey landed but one punch. It was a left hook to Morris's stomach. Carl goes to and stays on the canvas. He's writhing in pain. But many in the crowd thought Morris threw the fight. They cry fake, call police, jail the tramp. But in fact, Morris lost to an unnatural ferocity, the unbeatable Jack Dempsey, who went on to knock out champion Jess Willard in 3 rounds, having already carved him up in the first. Carl Morris? Well, he's never able to pull himself back into top contention. He'll eventually retire in December of 22 after a knockout loss to, it was a TKO loss to Fred Fulton. The same Fulton that Dempsey had knocked out in 1. And that, boys and girls, is the story. Did you enjoy it? If so, tap the thumb up icon. Subscribe. Type in your comments below. Hit the bell icon. You'll be notified of more videos. Thank you.